China's very interesting. They play this very fast, aggressive style.
We're trying to get into as many fights as possible.
Very much focused on dives.
Randomly, they'll all just group 5 and look for a 5v5. And if they don't get a 5v5, they'll dive you and they'll take your tower.
And they don't hesitate to blow 2 or 3 ultimates in order to secure a single kill, because then they'll turn that into an objective afterwards.
That kind of unorthodox super aggression as a team of 5 is going to catch a lot of teams off guard.
They basically demolished everyone else in the group.
因为我们坚持自己的对游戏的理解和观念。
Analysts are now measuring how fast does the team lose the OMG than how good they played.
It's going to be 38 minutes, 49 seconds. It's a very long game for OMG in terms of averages.
I think because they're isolated from the rest of the world, people don't generally look to China for strategy.
就是在坚持自己的那种风格，也没有说去研究别的国家的风格。
不关注我们就默默的成长吧。我觉得太受关注，肯定就要被各方面的人去研究吧，有利有弊吧。
Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship, coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. In just a few minutes, GamingGear.eu and OMG are going to square off. But first, I'd like to welcome SKT T1's mid laner Faker to the interview lounge. First of all, Faker, we want to talk about Riven. Not a champion that we see every day. Talk to us about the Riven pick.
페이커 선수 먼저 인터뷰 라운지에 오시게 된 걸 축하드리고요. 첫 번째로 리븐을 선택하신 거에 대해서 먼저 여쭤보고 싶은데 리븐은 평소에 잘 선택되지 않는 챔피언이잖아요. 왜 선택하셨는지요?
일단 제가 리븐은 거의 한국에서 거의 안 했거든요. 근데 북미 서버 와서 처음으로 솔로 랭크에서 돌려봤는데 되게 재밌고 또 여러모로 좋은 챔피언인 것 같아서 한번 써보자 하고 대회에서 한번 픽 해봤던 것 같아요.
Riven, I rarely played Riven back in Korea, and I started playing Riven a lot once I came here this month and played her during a solo rank queues, and I found her a lot of fun. She had many utilities and awesome skills, so that's why I chose her.
So let's talk then about the next step in the game after the Riven pick, which was the Riven death at level 1. What was going through your mind after that happened?
그러면 이제 그 리븐을 선택한 것 다음에 일어난 일, 그러니까 리븐의 죽음, 퍼블을 당하셨는데요. 퍼블 당했을 때 어떤 생각이 나셨나요?
일단 퍼스트 블러드를 당했을 때 되게 불안한 건 없었고요. 그냥 좀 게임 끝나고 코치님한테 혼날 생각이 많이 났던 것 같아요. 그래서 그 정도로 좀 불안했었는데 또 경기가 잘 풀려 나가서 괜찮았던 것 같아요.
When I died, I wasn't worried about the outcome of the game. I was more worried about my coach grilling me about, giving first blood. So in that sense, I was worried, but, I was fine after.
So after the abysmal start, I think we'll call it, what happened? How was that game turn around, in your opinion, for SKT?
일단 최악의 시작이라고 일단 얘기를 할게요. 최악의 시작 다음에 경기를 돌렸는데 그 경기를 돌리게 된 그 주요 이유가 무엇이었나요?
일단 저 때문은 아닌 것 같고 저 빼고 탑의 임팩트랑 피글렛이 너무 잘해줘서 게임이 쉽게 풀렸던 것 같아요.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't me. Top's Impact and Piglet played really well, and I think their play turned around the game for us.
So, in the 2 days that you've had, as downtime almost, what have you guys done to really prepare yourself to take that next level and make sure that you qualify, for the playoffs coming forward?
거의 이틀간의 휴식 기간을 가지셨는데 그 이틀 동안에 이제 그 다가오는 경기랑 이 롤챔에 대한 어떤 준비를 하셨나요?
일단 저희 SKT는 거의 이틀 동안 쉬지 않고 계속 연습했는데 아침, 밤 계속 연습했거든요. 근데 저는 긴장 안 하는 법을 배웠어요. 그동안 긴장을 어떻게 하면 안 할까 하고 연구를 많이 했는데 그래서 40초 만에 퍼스트 블러드를 당한 게 아닐까 하고 좀 그런 점도 있네요.
So we stayed around and just practiced day and night. We prepared. But one of the things I really tried to work on was to not, feel the pressure and get, tighten up. And I think that's why I gave first blood. I was too relaxed.
Well, thank you very much, Faker, and good luck in the rest of your games, and good luck making it to the playoffs there as well. So let's get on with the games and send it over to Demon and Freak for the second match.
Thank you very much, Joe. It is indeed time for our second match of day 5. China's OMG up against the international wildcard team, GamingGear.eu. And like their perfect record would indicate, the last time these two teams faced off, it was, of course, OMG that came out with a victory.
Yeah, surprising result there. And, of course, both these teams, they have a very similar style. It's early game aggression, and then you go into team fights. OMG just did it better, 16-3. They built the early lead, then they took control of the game, and they just closed it out. It was a by the book, and by OMG standards, pretty reserved game, actually.
Well, let's face it, Gaming Gear, they shouldn't be feeling too bad about this because OMG has absolutely dominated all of the teams in Group A so far, and leading the way has been their AD carry, San.
And this would have been actually a surprise coming into this because he wasn't the MVP of the team, but he leads the group stage with a KDA of more than 20. He's even got second place in kills with 34, even though he's played less games than everyone else in Group B. So the guy's been putting out great performances, only has 3 deaths despite all his kills. He's putting up really good numbers.
And clearly focusing on the game there as well with his head down. So let's take a look at those starting lineups. In the blue corner, it's going to be OMG. In the top lane is Gogoing, Lovelin, that jungler, Cool, the mid laner who has been quoted as being the best mid laner in China, by the way. San as the AD carry and Big Pomelo as that support.
And of course, in red, it will be GamingGear.eu with NBS in the top lane, Alunir in the jungle, Mazarin in mid, Deadly Brother on AD carry, and Inspiro on support.
So, coming into picks and bans, what are we expecting to see from this one, Freak? If you look at the history between these two teams, it was Zed, Lee Sin, and Elise being taken away by Gaming Gear. OMG went for Shen, Thresh, and Corki. Are we expecting anything different? Of course, you got to think to maybe the Gragas, the Orianna that Mazarin's played.
Exactly.
And of course, OMG, well, look at what Cool's been going towards. He wants to get that Zed. We know he does.
Yeah, and we'll see what ends up coming through with this one because you have some shared champions and some champions that neither of the guys, or only one guy on each side is going to run. So it just depends on what they feel like running here because you're going to likely see the assassins come through from the OMG mid lane. That's why you see the Ahri ban come out. And it's really up to what they want to run because we've seen teams run new strategies. We've seen them run the same strategies.
Well, either OMG have done their research or they just hate me because they banned my favorite champion, Ziggs, out, which is not really a ban that you tend to see.
It's not. I don't know if that was really on purpose. Honestly, we kind of have to see what they want to go for here. OMG, I think coming into this, it's their first game of the day. They should be looking to play something a little bit comfortable, I think. They should make sure that they're on point. They've still got important games to play both today and tomorrow. And as long as you pick up a couple of wins, you help guarantee that you keep that first place spot. So I wouldn't expect something too crazy from them. I think play standard, make sure you're up to speed here is the way to go for these guys.
We'll see how it is. They are coming in with that perfect record. Kennen being taken away. There is the Zed ban, so Gaming Gear on point with the bans, targeting that mid laner Cool. We'll see what the final 2 bans do come out with.
I half expect Fizz to come out as well at this point because Cool will be happy to play the champion if you run that. And unless Orianna or Gragas gets banned, you can kind of let the Ori or Gragas get picked up and just take the other here on Mazarin. But Fizz is one I haven't really seen him play successfully, so that would be my guess, but it really depends on where these guys want to go with it.
Corki was the final ban, as we mentioned. Flavor of the tournament seemed to be having a very good record so far within this tournament. Zyro, of course, also up there. We'll see what the final choice for Gaming Gear is, though. Will they go for that Shen ban, or will they allow it through? Gogoing may try and take that one as his first option.
Yeah, I know Shen and Zed were the 2 champions that have been picked or banned in every game up until today, and of course we did see Zed played last time. So it is actually a Caitlyn ban coming out. That's actually interesting to me. The Shen, of course, already hovered over, and why not? When you look at what OMG does, having a tanky guy to initiate the front line tower dives, whether it's in lane or into a team fight, or to just accentuate someone else when they go for a tower dive, whether to give them the shield so you can make it a 3-on-1 dive somewhere else, or just to win the mid lane duels when that mid lane is so assassin heavy. He works with so many things that OMG wants to do.
Well, let's not forget Twisted Fate is available as well. Orianna and Aatrox are being selected by Gaming Gear. Twisted Fate alongside Shen could be a dangerous combination. Or, with the AD carries both being banned, we could see the submarine come out. We could see Twitch in there.
You never know. I don't think we've seen him yet this tournament. I'm trying to remember if I have. I don't think we have so far. But yeah, the Ori and Aatrox, these are already two champions Gaming Gear ran last time. I spoke to playing with Comfort. This is exactly Comfort. They actually first picked Ori last time.
Yep.
They did the exact same thing here. It's Gaming Gear looking to play their type of composition. And then, of course, same thing for OMG. Elise got banned last time, as you mentioned. Here's the Fizz coming out. Here's the Shen coming out. And the likely Elise lock-in, of course.
This looks like it will get locked in for Loveland. So actually, currently OMG picking their own champions in their own positions. They don't need to know any switches, any trades that could happen. Instead, we're going to have a change around. Looks like Jarvan may be the choice. 6 seconds to go before he locks that one in. There it is. So, okay, Jarvan and Fizz alongside Shen.
It's interesting to me that they actually went for the Jarvan over the choice of Elise, but it's really up to you. Of course, he's a great ganker as well, and actually brings a little bit more team fight utility, which does play to the style. And I think when you fight against Gaming Gear, whose only real hope to beat you, it would probably be in really good team fights if they get really good engages. Having someone like Jarvan who's just going to do a better job at team fighting, I think speaks to a strong choice in their sort of pregame strategy. And like we're seeing, OMG's playing pretty much to what's standard for them. They're going to play their game here.
Waiting for the AD carry, jungler, something like that. Actually, Aatrox probably will be that jungler. Of course, they could go for a top laner. They know they're going to be up against Shen. Will they switch it for that 2v1 lane swap? What are Gaming Gear going to go with? Nasus, maybe that champion of choice. We still... I don't think whether MBS played Nasus throughout the wildcard qualifiers. I don't believe he did. Zyra is going to get locked in, though. So that could be in the jungle for Alanir, but I've got a feeling Aatrox is going to stay for Alanir because he's more aggressive as the jungler.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting to see that the Nasus is now more of a assumed top laner.
Yeah.
And it's especially a good matchup against Shen. In fact, Aatrox is a good matchup against Shen as well, if they want a 1v1 there. So Shen has very, very low kill threat. So if you play a late game scaler, like both Aatrox and Nasus, they get to sit there and farm up and be a huge threat in the game overall. And then in the case of Aatrox, if you did run for that matchup, you could interrupt the Stand United with the ult, whereas Nasus can't do that. That said, if you just run teleport on Nasus, then you can mirror those roams, those globals, and you're okay. But in either case here, I think Gaming Gear made a really good choice with their top lane pick, regardless which one they go for.
Well, could we see a tip of the hat towards their Chinese comrades, which is Royal Gaming? Tabe's been running that Annie so many times, and actually he's already said in an interview, if he doesn't get banned against me, I'm going to be playing it in that quarterfinal. So we'll see whether he sticks to that one. Annie or Big Pomelo. The crowd are chanting for it.
Yep.
It's almost like
there
it's a new Teemo. There it is. It's going to be support Annie.
All right, there we go. Support Annie coming through. And you're right, you talked about actually Royal Club running it so much with Tabe. And actually, Annie was practically first picked in almost every game those two teams played against each other. And you normally only first pick something away when you're worried about the other team running it as well. So here's the Annie coming through. I can't imagine it's a rare pick for Big Pomelo, who's got to be able to know this one. And this is good. And the thing is, it's not something that really tips their hand too much, because that's something you would expect to come out of that region. It's not a huge surprise. Yeah. So even though it's a new champion, the first time we're seeing it so far, it's something that teams would have seen in research. So they're not really displaying too much.
Okay, going the opposite route. They want to stay as far away as possible, going with that Zyra and Tristana combo. So, will we see 2v1 lane switches coming out from this one? Because I'm not too sure they want to go up against that scary lane. Big Pomelo is going to be looking to be very aggressive. Yeah. You can see Flash Ignite as well.
I don't have a wonderful read on just exactly how Annie has all her lane matchups. I've never played against it myself more than like once. So as far as lane matchups, I don't know 100%. But I've got to imagine Ezreal, not really the strongest laner overall. You can hide behind minions and not take Mystic Shot damage. That Gaming Gear would actually be okay to 2v2 these guys. What's actually really worrisome is when Jarvan shows up, because Annie's stun is 1.75 seconds and is targeted, so you're not going to like flash dodge it or anything. And Deadly Brother right now is running with Barrier, not Cleanse. So if Annie lands the stun, Loveland shows up with a Jarvan gank, and you just kind of die. And that's pretty likely to happen in this game.
Be interested to see the words of Crepo after this one, because I know he's played it a number of times in just in ranked queue rather than actually going balls deep and going for that European LCS matchup. So we'll see what he says about that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's check out as the game loads up to see what you guys at home have been picking for this one. According to LollySports.com, it's a big number. It's 93% of you think that OMG will end this match with a perfect record intact.
And of course, the analysts picked it as well. And with support Annie, how can you argue? It's going to be a fun show. And you know, even though we all come in expecting OMG to win, I think one of the fun things is going to be all the moves the support Annie gets to make, because Flash Timbers is basically Flash Crescendo, just awesomer. And her landing is, you know, instead of plants, you throw fire at people. You have kind of a Zyra-esque landing
you get a big teddy bear.
Yeah, it's awesome. You have 625 attack range, which is actually the longest of any conventional supports. I'm calling Annie a conventional support, by the way. So, you know, for what that's worth. But a lot of poke potential.
In China, she is a conventional support.
Straight up. And York's a conventional jungler. Like, these things exist for a lot of the regions. And it's ultimately going to be, at the very least, a learning experience. But also, you can't completely count out gaming gear. Theoretically, if every team just reversed their records from the first half of the group stage, everyone could end 4-4 and we could, you know, have a big tie. Unlikely, but...
Let's not give the production heart attacks just yet, shall we? Let's stick to what is likely to happen, which is, as you guys vote, 93% going for OMG. We'll see if that works out, because it is OMG as the blue team. You can see Big Pomelo already building that stun up, getting ready for this level 1 engage. Remember, OMG, the Chinese teams as well, Royal Club, we'll see in the quarterfinals, have been known to be overly aggressive in these level 1s. They are not afraid to go very deep into the opposition jungle. GamingGear themselves are set up ready and waiting for this, expecting the red invade, but it is the blue.
Yeah, and this is going to be what happens when you've got support Annie. She has an on-demand 1.75 second stun. And when you've got Gogoing there on Shen, he has an on-demand 1.5 second AoE taunt. So you can lock up the entire enemy team for 3 seconds and just hit them with things. It's going to work pretty well for these guys. Big Pomelo, of course, already spamming his Incinerate on the fountain. I've actually seen him typically recall after the invade completes to get a full mana bar when it goes back into lane. But of course, these guys just have control. It's run as a group of 5, put wards down, keep invading because they can't touch us.
Have they been seen? Not yet. Yes, they have. They've passed by that ward at the red buff, and look at where GamingGear are going. They're going straight for the blue buff. They realize that they know that they're on the red buff, so instead they're going for the invade of their own. So it's actually going to be a blue-red trade.
And there's actually not enough time for OMG to get back and contest this buff unless they walk straight there because they know about this. This is actually, oh no, this has been pinked. Yeah, okay, they saw OMG go by. So that was actually a pretty cheeky move by OMG. If it weren't for that lizard ward, they would have caught these guys out right here.
Well, it wasn't to be. Instead, it is going to be the blue buff for OMG. And instead, it's just straight up ward coverage. So despite all the tension and excitement, nothing came of it.
Nothing happened at all. Actually, for what it's worth, a lot more money was spent by OMG on this. They've actually also, interestingly enough, gone for a more unconventional lane swap. They sent Cool solo in the top lane. And, oh, this is so good for him, too, because he's going to fight a low-threat top laner. NBS here on Nasus is not going to shove Cool out of lane, whereas Mastered would have had a pretty good time as Orianna against Fizz. So OMG getting good matchups everywhere.
And also they get Gogoing went and got those wolves, and he's going to be going into that 2v1 bottom lane. Shen, standard 2v1 bottom lane, like you mentioned. So pressure on MBS in that top lane. Alonair getting caught out by Loveland, already aggressively. Loveland going straight in towards that jungle. Now they're maybe going to come around. Blue, luckily for GamingGear, has not been taken just yet. I thought it had already gone, but it has not.
Yep,
instead,
and this is...
in Spyro, he doesn't really fancy this one.
No, he can't. And this is the thing that happens when you've actually got a high-impact early game support in the mid lane, is you can run around, roam, and with all those aggressive wards that OMG put down, they spotted the jungle route, ganked him at his second buff into enemy territory using that Annie to make sure it happened, and now OMG get 3 of the 4 buffs at the beginning of the game.
Mazarine in that mid lane doesn't want anything to do with Annie right now. He can flash stun, throw that ignite out, and of course with the aggression of San as well, already the highest KDA in the group stages so far, as you mentioned earlier on. He's not afraid to go aggressive either. MBS getting caught out. Good turnaround from MBS back on Cool though.
That's actually the deceptive thing about NASA. They're going to go in.
They're going to see the Wither down there, actually missing the slow. Does manage to get the knock-up. Is it going to be enough? Cool taken very low. Has to flash away there. So good trade by GamingGear.
And that's the deceptive thing about Nasus. His Q is actually some pretty good damage. The bottom lane getting jumped on as well. But of course, it's just a gank for one person.
They're trying to turn it back around, though. They do manage to get the grasping roots on towards Lovelin, forced away. So good defense work from GamingGear so far.
And this is a lane that's very hard to kill. So unlike the Ghost Singe we saw last game, there's not a lot of real kill pressure from a Shen. The damage output is just not high with this group. It does, however, give Gogoing a lot of time to sit and be safe and farm. Look that he's at 12 versus 14 in minion kills. He's not getting pressured at all.
Well, it is this mid lane. That's where the pressure's being relayed. You can see it's already down below a third health. San continuing to keep that pressure down. Big Pomelo going around, trying to throw those wards out, keeping coverage, making sure that Alanir doesn't come looking for those kills, as he so often does to help out Mazarine in that mid lane. Going, is he going to go Shadow Dash across Inspiro? No. Dodges out the grasping roots as well. Zyra so far, as I mentioned earlier on in the last game, has been very successful. You can see 13 wins, 6 losses, and banned out 3 times. So very successful support champion so far in the World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. She just does a lot for these teams, especially when you consider that it just works against aggressive diving teams. Of course, Loveland's still forcing the moves.
It's keeping a lot of pressure on him here, of course, with that red buff burning, ticking away. Alanir forced to back away from the and having to chug through those health pots to get back to rose those rates. Mid turret, down to half health now. OMG keeping that pressure on. They may dive this.
Yeah, he's just waiting around to the side. Just even though he didn't go for any early combat items, the level lead he gained from the level 1 ward pattern and the support anti-roam has just made him huge. Deadly Brother, pretty hurt there.
Good shadow dash on towards Deadly Brother, not quite inside the tower range, which is what he was aiming for. Cool, just using that playful trickster to hop around the mid lanes where the pressure's still being applied. GamingGear desperately fending off this mid lane turret push.
And that's worth pointing out is even though you can't really easily dive the mid lane, the fact that Loveland kept finding a Lunaire prevented him from defending that turret with his mid laner Mazarine and allowed that turret pressure to come in so much more. Loveland wasn't ganking the mid laner, he was ganking the jungler and removing her from the lane.
Cool continues to farm the top. This is going to be the first turret of the game going down. OMG will take this one. GamingGear not able to defend it out here, and you can see they wanted to pick up a kill. They're disappointed, it seems, OMG, that looking to see if anyone would go aggressive, but GamingGear rightfully and respectfully backing away from that turret.
Yeah, and this is what we saw from OMG last time they played GamingGear, was aggressive plays that weren't overly aggressive. Loveland's been ganking a Lunar in the jungle, forcing him out, preventing him from defending, and then not dying, not getting too aggressive, but making moves that are paying off over and over and over again.
Alanir tries to dive in. GamingGear tried to go aggressive. You can see there's 4 members of GamingGear in the mid lane now. They've let that bottom line completely open. So Gogoing getting free farm in the bottom. He's going to be pushing on the turret because you do see Inspiro getting caught out. He's going to go down. First blood comes in. It's San that picks it up again.
And the ward that you see on your screen right there is the reason, or part of the reason they got that kill right there, is, again, aggressive ward coverage and as well as the aggressive moves. OMG get rewarded for that kill with just absolute control over the dragon. I don't see anyone stopping this.
That will be the dragon gain. Cool had come down to help out, but he's going to be backing off towards that top lane. So NBS, well, he's been up and farming on his own for a while. Has managed to build himself a tiny lead against Cool, but Cool will slide back in here, back towards his turret. Not going to feel any pressure from MBS, I don't feel. MBS himself, gone for that Negatron cloak, building in towards this lane in the top here, up against Cool.
And this is going to be interesting because you can have the duo lane of OMG swap into the Nasus now that Dragon's off the table. The location of your champions on the map doesn't matter for 5 minutes, and they can just go in for a fight here.
You can see Stan United coming out. He's going to shadow dash across. MBS getting locked up. He's not going to be able to escape this one. Ghost has been popped, but it's all she wrote. Cool is going to come in. Are they going to let him get away? No, they're not. They're going to gift it across to Gogoing.
So even despite the magic resist, the magic damage lane of Fizz plus Shen can do that, and that's exactly what Fizz does for a team. Is you don't need to use it to turn around a gank, you can use it to force a gank. That Stan United coming in, the crowd control getting the kill. Very well played.
Heading down the river was Cool, warded out though by GamingGear, already realizing backing away from that mid lane. Down in the bottom, we do see San and Big Pomelo keeping Mazarine very much away from this wave, keeping him well zoned out. Mazarine has hit level 6 though, so we'll have that shockwave available. However, unfortunately for him, Big Pomelo is about to hit 6 as well, which means Tibbers on the support will be available in a moment.
And this is just the aggressive version of what a Sona lane at level 6 does. You get the stun, but a lot more damage to follow it up. And of course, look at this mid lane, they're getting surrounded.
Absolutely, Deadly Brother caught out, Shadow Dash, taunt straight in there. And Cool will be finishing off this one. Oh, will he? Knocks him away with that ultimate. Lovelin's trying to desperate chase on towards Inspiro. Deadly Brother now, slow getting on towards him from Alanir. Inspiro will go down on the side, but how will he do? Alanir trying to keep Gogoing away from him. Will try and walk away from this one. Gogoing just keeping him at bay. Has to jump away from it, but he did save Deadly Brother. He got away towards the top.
That was a good escape right there. Tristana, actually, the Buster shot does have an area of effect onto it. It damages only one target, but will knock back multiple champions in the area. And once the two melee champions were on top of each other, Deadly Brother got to push them both back. But of course, you're still seeing the dives work for OMG. They're still playing the aggressive lane. All their moves are working with no penalty.
It's nearly a 4,000 gold advantage just coming into the 10-minute mark so far. And OMG, you just saw Big Pomelo, look where he's placed all those wards. Around the blue and actually in the lane of Mazarin. Mazarin already taken low. Coming around the side, he's going to be Cool. Closing in towards him. He has got that shark available. As he needs it, throws it out. Mazarin gets caught out with that slow. Going to bounce on. Playful tricks to finish it off from Cool.
That was a great play right there. A standard roaming play. And we talk about how important getting that first mid lane turret down is. How important killing that turret. And you saw it right there. They've got better ward control. You got Cool roaming through the enemy jungle. That's really not even their jungle anymore. OMG, again, looking for aggressive moves, surrounding enemy champions, and constantly pushing lanes, and then moving in to surround people.
OMG looking to take their second blue buff from the opposition jungle already. Alanir being bullied away from this one by Lovelin. Lovelin being kept well away from it. So that will be the blue buff being taken away. Cool will have that one. San continues his farm in the bottom. And speaking of farm, 92 CS to 70 of Deadly Brother. Deadly Brother falling behind here.
And what's interesting as well, though, is that this laning phase, as you talk about them falling behind, the laning phase also, in addition to the dives, is just going so well for OMG that even though we're only 10 minutes into the game and you feel like, well, why aren't they pushing it? It's because it's really only 10 minutes into the game. These guys can play it pretty slow and just destroy Mazarin like this.
Mazarin not got a chance. You saw the big Tibbers there using the Chinese panda skin. Well, what else would they use? That is going to be the turret going down. It's San that picked up the kill. Domination here. Loveling comes in. MBS manages to sidestep but gets caught out by that Cataclysm. Has only got Ghost available, so he can't flash out of this one. He's going to get locked up here. San looking to try and close it out. No mana on him. Loveling will be taking this one away. One more hit. There it is. It's 6-0 now to OMG.
This is the gameplay you expect from these guys, and it's cool because even though we talk about the sort of the Chinese death squad, the 5-man roam who groups up and dives things if you won't fight them anyway, they don't need 5 people. OMG are doing this with 2 or 3. They're actually holding their lanes. Gogoing stayed top, didn't use Stand United. The bottom lane you saw from Big Pomelo and San just stayed down there. It's one guy at a time saying, I can kill you. Here's Cool, one guy at a time, going to the top lane.
Heading towards that top. Alanir is up there, but he's got Gogoing alongside him, who's already feeling confident. Alanir already down to half health. Has got, of course, that Bloodwell available, but oh, he flashes away from that shark popping out. And it will be OMG forcing them away from top lane.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of minions that are missed, even though it doesn't result in a kill. The aggressive play results in a bunch of golden experience going away, which, heck, is worth it. Just the same, that top lane turret, of course, taking a bunch of damage. Now, looking back at the Gaming Gear side, though, they've been just trying to hold their lanes up. And for what it's worth, they have a really good late game. They've got a Nats who can sit there and farm. They've got a Tristana to try to rely back on. The problem is, though, they're down 6,500 gold. If they don't stop the bleeding, they're just going to turn pale and fall over.
Yeah, you can see OMG keeping that pressure down. Big Pomelo going in towards the opposition jungle. Once again, warding out that red. You see Lovelin throwing down those pink wards, keeping control of that red buff area. Perfectly timed once again. San continues to push their mid lane on his own. He's feeling so confident on that Ezreal and actually forces Alanir away towards that turret. Mazarin coming back in there, but he's so far behind in farm already just against Cool, let alone anybody else. That's going to be the red buff for Lovelin. And OMG systematically taking control of every little bit of resource on the map.
Oh, absolutely. These guys, they are playing the controlled game. This is what we kind of expected to see coming into this is, all right, play your best. You don't have to show anything crazy, but just play the game that you expect will intimidate your opponents. And it's what they're showing right here. They're playing an intimidating game of nothing has gone wrong. They aren't missing minion kills. They aren't missing champion kills. They're just doing everything correctly.
And the trade from MBS there, being pressured by Gogoing. This is going to be a 2-man dragon, just the second dragon of the game, I might add, and it's actually, obviously, with Lovelin tanking it up, Big Pomelo putting the damage down. San's going to come down and help out. Cool was just off the side All 3 lanes being pushed right now, and the dragon being taken away is going to continue to stretch that gold further and further in OMG's lead.
Exactly, 8,000 gold. Now you've got an attempted counter here by Luna. This might work.
They may try and go towards him. They are going to slam on down. Gogoing, of course, does have that stand united, so he's going to try and wait to see if he can use it instead. That's all, every little bit of knockup, but instead he's just walking away from this one. They simply don't have the damage.
Didn't have to burn Flash either, so it was actually GamingGear who burned more summoner spells in this one. And even the gank attempts aren't quite working here. OMG going to keep making moves. His top lane is now on their sights.
Big Pomelo comes in, has got that Topaz available. There it gets slammed down. Alanir, passive pop. Big Pomelo tanking out that turret. The turret itself is low. Oh, perfectly timed. True shot barrage comes across from Sand. Sand comes in just at the end. Mop up duty. Big Pomelo manages to pick up the kill on MBS as well. The turret will follow. Full control, OMG.
And that only took 4 people from OMG. You still had Loveland holding up somewhere else. Now actually fighting Mazarin. And jungling beating mid laner is kind of happening right now.
This is not good. That's going to be a shockwave coming out. Loveland actually choosing to back away. No, he isn't. Who am I kidding? He's going to go straight in towards Mazarin. He tries to push the lane instead. Puts out that Dragon Strike. One more hit will do it. Mazarin has to flash away from this one. The jungler beating a mid laner is not a good sign for GamingGear.eu.
Not in the slightest. Loveland is level 9. He is tied with Mazarin. He's above basically everyone else. Deadly Brother sitting here trying to last hit minions, and to his credit, he's got over 110, but it's not enough. This build is going to take a long time for these guys, and OMG are still the team in control. So you look at them and they say, okay, they've got another game to play today, but they're already looking this good. OMG might very well 8-0 this group.
Let's not discredit GamingGear too much, because this is a team that's gone through the wildcard tournament, the developing nations. They're up against OMG, who have topped the Chinese LPL for 2 seasons straight. Absolutely dominated that league, and that's a league that has Invictus Gaming and World Elite, which you guys would have seen here at Season 2. And, you know, World Elite went and won IPL 5 after that Season 2. They are a very good team. We saw them obviously at the All-Star Championships with well taken second place. So the Chinese community we know is very strong. And when a team has topped that league for 2 seasons straight, you're expecting them to be pretty damn good.
And they are pretty damn good. They're putting on a clinic here for how to play an aggressive game. It's the style, I think, is actually the strongest way of playing League right now is put the pressure everywhere, roam around, control the vision, and make things happen. And it's a more aggressive version of what SKT is even doing, where they're controlling wards but letting the teams run into them. It's OMG running in right now.
Mazarin into all sorts of trouble. The Urchin Strike comes in. Playful Trickster pops on his head. And that's Mazarin going down. Gogoing just tanks up that turret. Now he's going to turn up towards Deadly Brother. There goes out the Shark. He's going to slide back in. And that's a double kill for Cool.
Yeah, that's going to work pretty well. It's just picking up more and more. 4, 0, and 3 on him. Taken down. It is Rosanna's first death. Deadly Brother's done a good job of surviving this relentless assault. But unfortunately for him, it's OMG now looking into the base.
That's 2 turrets going down. Teleport from MBS. Is it going to be too little, too late? Look at the burst coming out from Cool now. True Shot Barrage rattles across him. Sand's going to try and get locked up. The turret is doing damage on him, but it's not going to be enough. And OMG pushing through, going to take down their first inhibitor turret of the game. And the inhibitor, well, that's going to follow.
Yeah, only 17 minutes into this one, OMG have already cracked the outer shell. Dive coming back in.
Cataclysm on towards Mazarin. He's already been troubled by Loveland. This time around, he's got the help of his team. Stranglethorn's only catching out Gogoing. Aluna dives in there. Doesn't manage to get on towards Loveland. Taken very low. They just couldn't get their first kill of the game. It's now 13-0 for OMG. They're going to back away, but they get the inhibitor.
There's not quite enough health bars for this OMG squad to keep pushing in. The enemy team is still, of course, scaling up with golden levels and whatnot. So, and it's OMG playing aggressively and then not playing too aggressively, though. It's the restraint that's also equally impressive because they keep looking for these kills. They play so bloodthirsty, but they're not crazy about it. The fact they've got 0 deaths, despite the fact they've been diving turrets, that's the impressive thing, is diving turrets and not dying while doing so just shows you the level of confidence, but also control this Chinese team has.
Well, TSM are going to be watching on at this game. They have to play OMG and SK Telecom later on in today, this group stage. And of course, don't forget OMG. They're looking the most impressive in this group so far. SK Telecom obviously were clean favorites coming into this one. But so far, OMG have really impressed me.
They really have. And here comes another one from McCool.
Urchin Strike on towards Alanir. He's going to get locked up. That's going to be the passive being popped out. The Bloodwell, well, it's not going to be enough because Urchin Strike finishes off once again. Lich Bane glowing, thinking of going for MBS. Instead, backs away.
Yeah, the Ghost getting him a little bit too far out of range right here, but goes in over the wall.
Goes straight in anyway. MBS just not tanky enough to go up against him. He's only got that Spirit Visage built up. He's not been given the free farm turret at the top there. Big smiles on the faces of GamingGear, I might add. They're actually enjoying the time despite the fact they're obviously being taught a pretty solid lesson by the Chinese champions. And so far, it is all going one-way traffic. 14-0, the perfect game is on.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it. 0 turrets, 0 dragons, 0 kills. Nothing given away to this enemy squad right here. The bottom lane, now the target, but GamingGear's going to defend.
There's the shockwave, pulls in Lovelin and Gogoing. MBS goes in, tries to be aggressive. Lovelin goes leaping, diving through there. Oh, a Shadow Dash catching 3 members, followed up by Tibbers on top. Big Pomelo might go down.
Oh.
There is Mazarine picking up the first kill for GamingGear. San manages to close down MBS. That's a kill. Lovelin manages to get in towards it. Cool picks up the kill on Alania. But OMG, they went too deep, and it was Big Pomelo and Annie who went down and ruined the perfect game.
To be fair, though, they still took a fight that was a 2-for-1 plus a turret. You've got to say, even if you die, sometimes it really is worth it, whether you type it in chat or not here. OMG now, the second inhibitor going to be theirs, and the minions might just be enough to close the game out at about 20 minutes.
The damage from San there, just 2 shots nearly taking in Spyro's health off the map. And it is GamingGear.eu that are in all sorts of trouble now. 20-minute mark goes in, 2 inhibitors down, 7-0 in turrets, 16,000 gold behind. OMG looking so strong to close this one out. Team Solar Mid are going to be looking at this one. Where do you see weaknesses so far in OMG? Big question.
I don't see a lot, to be completely honest. The only thing I really saw was the fact that they had spent a lot of wards early on at level 1. You can only buy so many at the beginning of the game. And if you can capitalize on when those wards time out, or the fact that the enemy support doesn't have many left in lane, you can make those same ganks yourself. You can also try to read OMG and say, we know what kind of ganks you look for. We know you're trying towards certain things, but if you pull a Fnatic and hide in random brushes and then turn ganks around, there's a lot of predictable moves you can still plan around.
OMG continue to drive on. Super minions up that mid lane, cool. Just sidestepping Alania. Oh, there's no passive available for Alania here. He's just going to get eaten by that shark. We do see Lovelin sliding on in, trying to lock up NBS. Instead, Gogoing's going to keep that top lane. It's been a game by the numbers from OMG here. They're thinking of going for the 3rd inhibitor as well.
Yeah, they might as well take it out. 21 minutes in, they've got the control, and of course the enemy jungler being dead doesn't make it suck, and here comes the potential. More diving.
A dive comes in, there's the True Shot Barrage sliding across. Good shockwave from Alanir. From Mazarine. Not going to be enough though. Big Pomelo does go down. 2nd kill of the game. They try and lock up onto San as well. He's just continuing to pad out those KDA stats as he gets yet another kill. 6-0-7 now for San. That's going to be the 3rd inhibitor of the game going down. OMG looking so strong here in the first game of the day on day 5.
Flashes in, looks at the damage. Deadly Brother almost goes down, but the push is in for the Nexus.
Alanir's the last man standing. He's keeping them away. Deadly Brother stacks himself up. Spyro trying to keep them away. OMG actually pretty low here. They may not be able to close out the game yet like they're trying. Lovelin will take down the first Nexus turret. They're catching on towards Gogoing. Can they take him down? No, they can't, but they have to defend this Nexus turret. The inhibitor will be next. Will they manage to get it down? No, the minions can't do it. And OMG back away. GamingGear live to fight another minute of this game.
And just like GamingGear, the crowd is pretty much ecstatic about this game as well. And I've really got to hand it to them. You said it earlier, how they were all smiles. But GamingGear's attitude coming into this one, I think, is really the right one. We've seen teams blow up over losses. GamingGear, like, we're losing, but we killed the legendary Fizz. We got that one. Our base is still alive. And it's the kind of thing you like to see. We are playing games after all, and having fun is what it's about when I'm playing games. If my teammates in solo queue were this happy when losing, I would play more solo queue.
You would play more solo queue. We'd all play more solo queue. Cataclysm on towards Inspyro. He's getting locked up. Lovely manages to keep him locked in now. The exhaust was already used. The rest of the team come in to support. San gets himself another kill, and who else would do that? Deadly Brother sidesteps out there. Oh, that's going to be a Shadow Dash drawn straight on towards him. It's another kill for San. He continues to pad out those stats at the moment against GamingGear. Good shockwave once again, pulling him in. Alanir tries to follow it up, but it's not going to happen. Fizz diving on towards the fountain, towards Mazarine. He will lock that one up. Shadow Dash coming in towards Alanir. Oh, taking a pillar laser from the fountain. Not quite going to be enough. The Nexus turret will go down this time around. They're chasing on towards MBS. He's going to get locked up. There's the stun. It's San with another. He's now 9-0-7. The Nexus will go down. It's OMG that picked up themselves the second win of the day. It is day 5, and they are now 5-0. 5-0.
Oh no, Cool throwing away kills. That's all right. Son adds about 5 to his KDA from that game. Mid-20s, good place to be for a tournament series, isn't it?
Absolutely fantastic performance by the Chinese champions. Like I mentioned, in the LPL in China, they topped it in spring and summer, so it's the equivalent of the LCS, exact same format, I might as well. So you guys, you know exactly what that is all about. They have dominated over in China, and right now they are looking to try and dominate the Season 3 World Championships. 5-0 in the groups. The only team so far to go undefeated in this World Championships.
Yeah, these guys have put on a very good performance, and you've got to realize that everyone else will be turning their heads and saying, OMG are very serious contenders here. And now both times that OMG has played Gaming Gear, it was, we're better than you in lanes, we're better than you at rotations, and then checked aggression. Every move has been a sort of worth it move, where even if they died, it was a 2-for-1 plus a turret, or for the first 20 minutes was just a free kill with nothing to pay for it. And that is, at the highest level, the type of play you expect from OMG.
So 2 solid performances so far on day 5. Let's send it over to Quickshot and the crew, though, to break down OMG's near perfect game.
Thank you very much, D-Man. And the first thing that I really want to talk about is the composition that we've seen OMG running. I think, you know, individually they showed that they were stronger players, they worked better as a team, and there's not too much to dissect from a gameplay mechanism just yet, but I think the composition, it was very much Royal-esque, who is, of course, in the quarterfinals. Double Lift, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, I've actually never seen Big Pomelo play any sport. I thought top
He has.
Oh, he has?
Yeah, he has. Not well, I will say that.
Okay. I feel like he pulled it out in this game specifically to kind of strike fear into his opponents, trying to show like, oh, I can play any support. If you're not comfortable playing against it, you have to ban it.
He did have 50% of his team's deaths, though, so I don't know how people are going to be.
Yeah, and with that, to break down that anti-support a little more, when we talk about it being Royal-esque, that anti-support does so much work when you have it in the mid lane with an AD carry. And typically we see it with Twitch on Royal or with Ezreal. And it just gives you so much control over your enemy's buffs, because that hard stun, that engage in the jungle, leads to some really nice early invades, and it gives you a lot of options for diving the mid lane early as well. So typically we see a 2v1 in the mid lane when that anti-support is picked, and that's kind of why.
I kind of agree with Monty there. Like, I've played any support a bit in solo queue and on various smurfs. It wasn't as effective as I'd hope it to be in the bot lane 2v2 sometimes. It has good strengths, but sometimes it's not as good. But then if you put it in the mid lane, there's where the strengths of any support really shines. Really good harass. It doesn't need for sustain, because 1v2 you don't need the sustain at all. And as he said, going for the buffs, jungle control, you have a stun on demand, and that's really, really big in a 2v1 play.
Just before we get Double Lift's point, as you can hear from the crowd, TSM has just taken to the stage, so we'll get to their game in a second. But what did you want to add about OMG's comp or the team, how they're playing?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to add that as an AD player, if you're playing against something unconventional like Annie support or like any sort of kill lane bottom, which Annie kind of brings, because she's just got so much kill potential, you're really uncomfortable. Like, I know I would be very uncomfortable laning against something I've never laned against before, because it's only popular in China specifically, and it's just like, it's something that you're gonna have to always consider. Do I have to ban this? Do I have to like lane swap against it? So I don't want to lane against something like that if you're playing AD.
One of the things I do want to highlight about what OMG have just done is not only have they showed the ability to seriously control games, but the ability on the champions, Cool playing Fizz in particular. This is something that every other team is going to have to consider. Talking about picks and bans and thinking, well, if we get the likes of an Ahri in that mid lane, Cool might happily play that Fizz and try to shut you down.
Well, right. Yeah. We touched on this a little earlier, but with OMG all but sewing up their spot into the quarterfinals, of course, there could be some wild stuff that happens, but I think we're all anticipating that they're going to make it at this point. This is where you start to mind game really hard. And so striking fury into your opponents with some of these picks is very important, and I think we're going to see that as this group closes out. And OMG just looking like the strongest team top to bottom that we've seen so far in the group stage, hasn't dropped a game, and they haven't made the same kind of early game mistakes that SK Telecom has made right now, so they're looking great.
I'm excited to see them. They will be playing TSM in our last game of the day. That is a little while away. Right now, let's take a look at the Group A standings. At the top of the table, undefeated is OMG at 5-0. SKT is sitting one game behind at 4-1. TSM 2-2. And now they're really going to be stepping up to the plate to try and challenge for that quarterfinal spot. Lemon Dogs and Gaming Gear rounding out the bottom of the table. All right, before we get to the next game, let's take a look at some Twitter responses. Earlier today, we asked you guys which player has surprised you the most in Group A so far and why. And here's what you had to say. At Twinkie of Doom, that is the coolest Twitter name I've ever heard. He says, Nuke Duck's inconsistent play and inability to carry thus far has surprised me the most. Now, this is a harsh one, but I can't really fault it.
I feel like that's a little bit
too harsh.
Too harsh, because if you think about the group that Nuke Duck is in, he's playing against Reginald, who's incredibly aggressive. His playstyle is really unorthodox for mid lane. He's going to catch any mid laner off guard. You even saw him do well against Faker. And just look at it. He's in the same group as Faker and Cool, the Chinese MVP. This is a really hard group to be playing mid lane in, and I think Nuke Duck hasn't been playing that bad. I mean, like, yeah, he's gotten shut down a couple times and made some bad plays, but the mid lanes in his group are just so hard to deal with.
And he did bring out that Swain as well. So he's been trying some new things, trying to inject something else into the matchups at mid to try and turn it in their favor.
I think he still played pretty well in a various amount of games. Yeah, sure, he maybe did something about people consider a throw, but there wouldn't be anything to throw if he didn't really win his mid lane as hard as he did. And he's a very strong mid lane player, and I think their team synergy just wasn't on point, and his other teammates definitely didn't outclass him either. So I think that was a little harsh from Twinkie of Doom.
Little harsh. All right. Well, Nuke Duck's got some pats on the back here from the analyst desk. At Flexion, he says OMG's jungler Lovelin was amazing with Lee Sin landing almost every single Sonic wave. Definitely OMG's playmaker.
Yeah, I love his Lee Sin, but I also really liked his Aatrox. Ganking after one buff is something not a lot of people do. He's definitely throwing some stuff that other junglers just haven't. You know, they've gone away from it with all the jungle changes, and you know he's not scared to pull off those types of plays. I really love Loveland as a jungler. That being said, he was also one of the top supports in the world as well.
I really like the fact that they used Loveland had such great game sense, and they said, hey, you know, Big Pomelo and Loveland not working out of their current positions. Why don't we just go ahead and cross those over? And it actually has worked out really well for the team. Loveland's mechanics obviously on point. His decision-making still superb. And I feel now he can affect the flow of the game in a way he couldn't before, and it's been really successful for OMG.
Definitely been working on 5-0 in the group right now. All right, the third tweet from Blemish. He says, Reginald surprised me the most by being such a passive Gragas versus SKT Tier 1. Not used to him not diving in first with his team. I would tend to agree with that as well. He does tend to be very in your face.
You know, I don't agree with the flack that Reggie got for his Gragas game. I think he actually played really well, and in fact, if Faker, there was like a video of Faker flashing to kill a minion to hit level 6 so that he could escape a gank.
Yeah.
And if Faker wasn't so good at the game, like, Reggie would have killed him. Reggie actually was incredibly close to killing him. The cocoon missed by like an inch off of Faker, and then if Reggie had killed Faker, then everyone would be like, oh my god, Reggie's playing so great. I think he actually had a really good Gragas game, but people just kind of blindly, I don't know, hate on him.
Yeah, I think Reggie played pretty well that game, actually. I think the major reason they lost wasn't his play. It was just some mechanical screw-ups throughout the game. And also, Trevor, I actually didn't get a chance to tweet this, but I'm really impressed by a player in Group A called Double Lift, because in 5 game days he still hasn't lost a single lane yet, which is really weird.
I'm a god.
I knew that was going to come one of these times.
I hate you, dude. The only person I lose lane to is like Marn, Complexity, bot lanes, Velocity Esports. I always lose to those teams. I'm so sad.
MIA is your kryptonite.
Exactly, dude.
Well, I'm going to have to work on getting better at that one. But for everybody that did send their tweets in, congratulations. You guys have won yourself some Logitech gaming mice, and you guys earned them.
All right, we still have 3 more games today, so keep hitting us up with your surprise players. We'll be at LOL Esports, and be sure to use the hashtag Worlds.
All right, we're about to get into our next game of the day. It is match number 3, and it's time for our experts to draw upon their considerable experience with all the pertinent information, and then, in Crepo's case, flip a coin. Guys, TSM or SK Telecom, who's it going to be? Kobe?
Now, this one does bug me a little bit because I want to go with TSM, but I have to take SKT. I talked to the guys. They've regrouped, and they think that they do have a pretty good game plan coming against SKT this time, but I don't know if they're going to be able to actually execute it. So many of the North American teams have been making these mistakes that we keep calling out.
Yeah, and you know, the people that, well, the thing that all of us have kind of latched onto was TSM's first 5 minutes of the game. They could have won the game right there, right? But SKT knows that too, and I feel like it's much easier to fix that as SKT than for TSM to capitalize on what they've done well earlier.
Where's your apple pie now, Double Lift?
My apple pie, the apple pie is dead, dude.
Apple
I'm done.
pie is
apple
dead.
pie is dead.
Apple pie is
Freedom
dead.
is dead. The
Double
Declaration of Independence is
2013.
dead. It's all gone, dude.
Crepo, where's your prediction?
I'm gonna go with SKTT1. Yeah, I think that they're slowly fixing their early game issues. Although I have to admit, having the crowd behind you is really nice. And I went outside to greet the fans as they were coming in and asked every person like, who are you cheering for, who are you rooting for? And about 90% of them all said TSM. So it's definitely gonna be the home crowd cheering for them. And if they get a snowball going, they can maybe use that energy to.
They're gonna need to latch on it. 2-2 right now. There's no more room for error for TSM here. Final prediction.
SK Telecom, T1, got to go with them as well. We still see that they haven't fixed that early game Faker's brush check. I know, I saw Koma, their coach, after that game. He looked really, really unhappy. So, but the problems persist, right? The problems persist. So we still haven't seen that clean early game. But even so, I think that TSM's just a bit outmatched here.
So we do have a little bit of time here before the players are fully ready on stage. I want to talk about some of the things that TSM's going to need to do right in this matchup. They did some things well the first time they played SKT, but Dyrus just fell so far behind so early. So my question to the panel here is what does TSM as a team need to do to challenge SKT?
They can't be afraid. You can never be afraid of a team when you play at this level, because if that only means you're going to play reactive, and if you're going to play reactive against SKT, you're probably going to lose. And you could see that in a lot of their games so far. They didn't care who they were playing against. They had those 2v1s going. I really hope they get the lane matchups again, because SKT1 is still learning 3v1, and TSM is way more experienced in that. And if they get the execution right, that could mean at least it's going to be at least an equal early game, if not a better early game for TSM.
You know, you actually stole my point, so I hate you. But kind of going off of that, I was talking to Cloud on the first day when Vulcan was screaming SKT, and I was like, what is the difference between Faker and every other mid laner? Because I was just curious, what was ManCloud's opinion on that? And he said, Faker has no hesitation. If he sees an opportunity, he's confident enough that he can pull it off. He'll do it instantly without any hesitation. And I think that's the difference between TSM and SKT right now, because if TSM's not confident in their ability, they're not going to capitalize on every possible play that they can make.
That's a pretty good point, actually, because after the loss to SKT previously, there was some discussion among the TSM team about the communication of wards, and that's why they got into some of those face-checking situations. So if the team is not communicating that well, which has been a problem with TSM, then they can't make those very decisive movements, and that will cost them.
Well, we're about to find out if they have been able to fix the problems here for TSM, because we are about to jump to a very quick break. But when we return, Reginald and Team Solo Mid take to the Rift for a rematch against SKT and Faker. Plus, OMG support Vic Pamela will join Shox in the interview lounge. Don't go anywhere, guys. The Season 3 World Championship live from Los Angeles. We'll be right back.